Hi, this is Anne-Marie Zanzel, and this is Coming Out and Beyond LGBTQIA plus stories. I am a minister, a late in life lesbian, a partner, a mom, and I came out at 50 years old. I am sharing the stories of our community. We will be talking about coming out and other things this season, including labels, dating somebody who's come out late in life. So I have a delightful guest today. Her name is Robin, and Robin describes herself as a very late blooming lesbian who wasn't aware of any romantic feelings towards women while growing up. Although in hindsight, she does remember what she would describe today as a crush on her female tennis instructor when she was just 8 or 9 years old. Robin supposes, but isn't sure, that the sudden death of her mother when she was 10 may have hijacked any possibility of realizing any other sexuality other than what was heteronormative growing up. Fast forward decades later, while married to a man for 28 years and two grown daughters, she unassumingly followed the breadcrumbs of an emerging infatuation with women. When the infatuation grew to the point of not being able to ignore it, Robin employed rather unconventional ways to finally get to the bottom of all these strong and increasing with frequency girl crushes until she finally had her aha moment. And welcome. I
Thank
can't,
you.
I can't wait to hear your unique ways.
It was pretty crazy. It was crazy. It's been a crazy journey.
So tell me your story.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, as the intro mentioned, I in hindsight remember having a crush on my tennis teacher, and then and then it was kind of like the screen went blank. My mother died, and it was just decades of like surviving and whatever. Um, Never had any opportunities to explore my sexuality in high school or in college. I never even knew really. I think I knew one guy in high school that he acted femininely, and turns
Mhm.
out, yeah, he was gay, but no one ever talked about it. So dated a lot of guys. I mean, I was attracted to men, didn't always really enjoy the intimacy, but I don't know. That part I can't figure out.
Well, I actually think about that because I grew up. Did you grow up in a religious home by any chance?
Not really. Like my mother was religious, and I think had she stayed alive, I think I would have been forced down that road. But yeah, I mean, we had to go to church and all that stuff. But when she died, that kind of fell by the wayside, and I did not grow up religious.
So what I think, well, seeds of religion, even if they're planted pre 10 years of age, they're pretty powerful sometimes. And so when I didn't really enjoy sex with men, like, I thought I chalked it up because I thought I felt guilty,
Wow.
so I was like, well, mom told me that I'm not supposed to have sex before marriage. So, that's probably why this isn't so great.
Yeah.
So that's how I've sort of interpreted it because I had such guilt over having sex before marriage, or maybe even shame, that I was like, oh, well, that's why. That's why I didn't enjoy it. So I never put it together that I just actually really didn't enjoy it much.
Yeah, I didn't feel any guilt, and I didn't not enjoy it. I waited a very long time. In my book, I waited a long time to lose my virginity, and I wonder in hindsight if that was why. But yeah, so I ended up getting married at 25, but I had been with a lot of guys, so it wasn't like I picked the first man that came along.
Hmm.
He's about 9 years older than I am,
Hmm.
and I think I was just on this. I think I was sleepwalking through heteronormative life. That's the best way I can describe it. I do recall, though, I played a lot of sports in high school and in junior high. And when it came time to go to college, a lot of my teammates said, "Oh, you got to go out for, whether it be softball or field hockey in college." But I had heard that there were a lot of all the teams were full of lesbians, and I remember feeling afraid, and it was
Hmm.
crazy, and I'm not even sure what I was afraid of. But they do. I've read and heard later down the road that it's often people who are afraid who are the most, I don't know.
Well, I would probably say that, like, so I've had a lot of straight friends, like straight women that have slept with women, and like
Yeah, I
it's
didn't know anybody.
literally no big deal to them.
Wow.
And, they sleep with a woman and they go back to their heteronormative relationships and they're like, yeah, that was fun. But I think for those of us who are afraid that we actually might be gay,
Right.
sometimes that exploration is something that we just say, if I, like you,
Yes.
if
I
I
think
join
that's what
these
was going
sports
on.
teams and there's a bunch of lesbians, oh my God, that means I might be a lesbian. And I think, I don't know, I think we're about the same age. So in the early 1980s, mid 1980s, there was a lot of homophobia going on
Oh,
because
yeah.
of the AIDS epidemic. And so, you keep getting those messages, even
Yep.
though the lesbians were the least likely people to get AIDS, you still keep getting those messages. There's a reason why people decided not to come out and stuff
That's
like
so
that.
true. And
Yeah.
it's interesting, after college, I really missed playing sports. So a friend of mine asked me to play on an all-women softball league, and I did. And I really think I'm oblivious sometimes to my surroundings because, as it turns out, many of the women in that league were all gay. They're all lesbians.
All right. So I got to share a story with you. So my partner came out in the 80s, like we were talking before this interview, and she'll never forget. Like she joined a softball league when she was like 22 or 23, and like after the game, the women were like walking back, and they were making like jokes about this really pretty woman that was on the other team and stuff like that. And she goes, "Oh my God, all these people are lesbians." And she was like, I thought I was she grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. I thought I was the only one. And so it was really wonderful for her to join those games, those teams.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was funny, and I remember. And of course, we would go to the bars after the games, and I went into the ladies' room, and for some reason I didn't have dividers or something in the bathroom, and this one woman that came in, and I knew her from the other team, and she said, "Has anyone ever told you you have really good, good looking legs?" And I was like, "No, not a woman, no." And that's when I started getting this clue, like, huh, this team is might be different,
Yeah.
but it was a lot of fun, and I stayed on the team, and whatever. But yeah, so I got married, and the marriage lasted 28 years. I would say probably halfway through the marriage, it started going downhill, and
Mhm.
neither of us took care of it. Neither of us seemed to, for whatever reason, we just let it die a slow death, and it got
Mhm.
worse and worse and worse. And there was a lot of gaslighting going on, a lot of
Mhm.
unpleasant things, a lot of emotional abuse, and I slowly and slowly became a shell of myself. I grew very, very depressed, and tried to spend as much time away from home as I could, and whatever. And But sometime during the last 14 years of marriage, I found myself noticing women,
Mhm.
everywhere. Like women in the supermarket, and I would follow them up and down the aisles. And I remember, a woman waiting for this woman that I saw in Staples, and I waited out in my car, and I'm like, I wonder if she's gay. And I'm like, why am I had no idea why I had crushes on women. And this lasted, I'm embarrassed to admit, several years. Several years. I even ended up I ended up developing a crush on my physical therapist. I got really injured once, and I talked my orthopedic doctor into giving me another extension on my PT so that I could keep
Yeah.
going. And I think she was one of the straws that broke the camel's back. And I'm like, man, what's up with that? Still not really putting everything together. Finally, we were lucky enough to have a home in one state, and we had a vacation home in another state. And I would spend time up in the other state. It was on Lake Ontario. And I got to know this woman who was renting my cottage on our property, and her husband. And I developed this wicked crush on her. It was crazy. I just couldn't get enough of her. That's when I finally said, enough is enough. I have to figure out what this is about.
Right. How old
So,
were you, Robin?
what's that?
How old were you?
Okay, I got to do the math here. I'm guessing late 40s,
Okay.
somewhere between 48 and 52,
Mhm.
something like that.
Mhm. So we were about the same age.
Yeah. Um, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, what is going on? No one to talk to. I didn't even think to look for books or anything, but I knew that there were dating sites. And
Mhm.
I went to my supermarket, bought myself a gift card,
Because
then I went to Staples and bought myself a burner phone,
mhm.
and I joined a dating site. And I remember the moment where I typed in "woman looking for women" or whatever, and "women looking for women," and so I just started striking up conversations with women in this dating site.
Mhm.
And come to find out, 90% of the women that I spoke to were all late bloomers. All of them had been married to men. All of them had come out, and it was just that was my gratifying. Oh my gosh, I'm not
What
crazy.
site? What
What was
site?
that?
What
I
site?
I wanna say it might have been OK Cupid.
Okay.
It might have been OK Cupid back then.
Mhm.
Um, there's one other one, but I can't remember the name of it, but I think it might have been OK Cupid, and, I just felt so grateful, and these women gave me so much of their time,
Mhm.
saying, "You're not crazy," and whatever. Um, and I wasn't there to look for anybody. I was doing research. I mean, it sounds crazy, but I was doing research. Um, I ended up meeting a woman, talking to a woman on there who lived in my same state, and so anyway, we ended up dating, but not until I went forward with my divorce.
Mhm.
I got my burner phone and did my research in March and April. And in May, my birthday's in the end of May. And in May, on my birthday weekend, I was all by myself up at my lake house, and I had my aha moment. I was just walking through my garage, and all of a sudden I went, I'm gay. And then I just started laughing. I mean, it took me that long, it was crazy. And then I think I met this woman online like in June or July. And by August, I had found a divorce lawyer, and right after Labor Day of where are we? 21, 5 or 6 years ago, I got the ball rolling, and interestingly, and for me, my sexuality had nothing to do with the divorce. I needed to get out of that marriage, but I do think my awareness and the awakening of who I am, and that I now like women, or maybe I always did, that gave me the strength to pick myself up and say, okay, I can't go on living like this. I
Mhm.
can't live in a very unhappy marriage. I mean, I was, 50 something years old, and I thought it's either now or never, because I really honestly didn't want to live anymore.
Mhm.
The marriage was miserable. And um so I just took the leap and went through the divorce process, which was horrendous. Almost took 3 years and a lot of money. Um, and the first relationship, it's funny because she's not even really my catalyst. I think my catalyst were all the breadcrumbs, and then my PT, my PT person, and
Your physical therapist might have been your
yeah,
the thing is though, Robin, you don't need a catalyst.
no, you don't. And it took me
I
forever.
didn't have one, so,
Yeah,
you just don't.
and I often tell women, if you think you want to date me or get to know me, you got to hit me over the head with a 2 by 4, because I am dense. I mean, it took me years to figure this out, and so, so yeah, and when I that 2015 in September, what I didn't know was that my now ex-husband told both my daughters that I'm gay and that we're getting a divorce. I never had a chance to get, and I didn't find this out until a couple months ago, like August. So
So
5 or 6 years went by. They knew, and I didn't know they knew.
oh, so you kept being in the closet with your
To
kid.
them, to them, and I did that because the divorce came as a surprise to everyone. It was a horrendous divorce. It rocked everybody's world, and I thought it would be selfish of me to dump on there also, like, oh, by the way, girls, I'm also gay. I mean, one of them had just started college, in September, and I just didn't think, I wanted to do that to them yet. I wanted to do it in my time and whatever. And in fact, my younger daughter didn't talk to me for 5.5 years. She contacted me this past August because of the things that her father told her about me or whatever.
Is the relationship being repaired?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. She reached out to
Sorry.
me in August.
Yeah.
So I was able to come out to her in August, and because I found out from her sister that they both knew.
Yeah.
And so I came out to both of them. They love me. They're supportive of me. My older daughter said, "Mom, how did you not know you played softball and you like hand tools and stuff?" I'm
You had
like,
more hand tools than anybody else. How did you not know?
I know. It's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. So yeah, so I have a very open, I'm out to anyone and everyone now, and it feels freaking great, to be
Mhm,
free and
mhm,
not have any secrets from my daughters, or
mhm,
anyone else
mhm.
that I meet.
How did it feel to you that you were outed by your husband?
Oh, I
I
was angry, really, really angry, and I even had a conversation with my older daughter. I said he had absolutely no right to do that, and she was kind of defending him, which surprised the heck out of me. I said, this is my life, my sexuality, my business, I mean, and he has been and still is a really bitter person. And
Right.
I think, he did that to save face. I think he wanted everyone to think that we got divorced because of my sexuality, which is not true. So yeah, no, I was very angry.
Well, I find that with the work I do is that so a couple of things happen. So women often they have really difficult marriages and everything like that. And then they come out as gay and then they take the responsibility of the end of the marriage on because they're gay. That's something I did. My ex outed me, but that's what something I did. I felt so guilty about ending the marriage that I was like, well, it's because I'm gay. But we had a lot of problems and we were like the poster children for marriage therapy. And um and and uh, n- but now I realize that a lot of our marriages have a lot of problems, and being gay has nothing to do with it.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
yeah, or the whole
really,
coming, and so I always caution people about taking on the responsibility of the divorce because they're gay.
right. Oh, I don't at all. Which is, and unfortunately, I am in a lot of different support groups and things, and I do see women taking that responsibility on, feeling terribly guilty. And the same with, I mean, many of them have, young children under the age of 18, and they feel like they're ruining everyone's lives, and that's not necessarily the mindset.
Well, because you know what, like there's this narrative that you stay together no matter what, right? That's the narrative. We both followed that. And we're miserable, we're not happy in the marriage, and a lot of marriages, you have your good times and your bad times and stuff like that, and I did that in my marriage. But I kept going and kept going, and because that's what you did. And like now I sort of look at it totally different, because kids really deserve happy parents.
Right.
They deserve happy parents. They
Yep.
deserve a home that's free of stress.
Yes.
They deserve a home that is free of conflict.
Yeah.
If you're a high conflict marriage and you're fighting all the time, what's the point? Like, and also too, another thing is that kids see mom or dad or both, staying in marriages that they're not happy. What are we teaching our children?
Yeah. Well,
Stay
that's the
in
thing too.
situations that they're not happy in, and we don't want that for our kids.
Yeah, I came out and told both of my daughters that, I said, I also want to be an example to you both, that,
Mhm,
I was very unhappy for a lot of years, and so was their father,
mhm.
and they knew I was unhappy. Towards the end, the last 5 years or so of my marriage, I did not keep it quiet that, how I was being treated and spoken to, and that I was unhappy. So I do also feel a sense of responsibility to let them know, don't stay in an unhappy marriage. Do what you can, to work on it, but you don't have to stay.
Yes, and the thing is you don't have to stay just because you're unhappy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even if there's some good elements to it and everything, if you're really, really unhappy and miserable in a marriage, whether and a lot of straight women are miserable in marriages, not just
Right.
gay people, you don't have to stay.
No.
And I feel like there's such a narrative that women to be good girls
Yes.
have
Yes.
to put everybody's needs before their own.
Well, not me, not anymore. My divorce
Not
really
anymore.
defined, really was that was probably one of the biggest changes I've ever made in my life. And I've often said to people that if I can do that, nothing is going to get in my way. I'm not going to allow anything to get in my way of my happiness, because that was so hard. That was so, so hard. And
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, we had, it was a 28-year marriage. The last 14 years were sexless. No
Oh,
affection, no love, nothing was there,
mhm.
which he of course denied, but how he can deny that?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been a wild journey. I've had a few relationships since my first girlfriend that I found on OkCupid, and I don't recommend the dating sites anymore. I'm sorry to say that to the dating site people, but I don't know. I don't know if it's because the pandemic muddied the waters, or what happened, but I think the way to go about meeting people is more organically, the way
Mhm.
we used to, and finding your tribe that way, which is what I'm trying to do. Find my tribe. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's been an interesting journey, and it continues. I made plans. I'm in North Carolina now, but I made plans to drive all the way down to Dallas for Dallas Pride, June 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Oh, good for you.
And somehow I missed Pride. I don't know how. In the last 5 years, I was never in the right place at the right time to do Pride. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Are they doing an in-person pride this year in
Yeah,
this?
yeah, they are. They're not doing the parade. They're not doing other aspects of their Pride, but they are doing some events on Friday night and Saturday night. And
So tell me, like, so for people that you're like, you don't recommend dating sites, and we've talked about a couple other options that you've used. So what, like, so if somebody's newly coming out, what would you recommend for them to do to find community?
To find community, I would say go on Facebook and Google late lesbian, late blooming lesbians, or late to lesbian, or Vita Nova, what
Yeah.
just do your research online. There's so much more available now than when I came out. I did buy a couple of books, which were super validating for me. It made me realize that I'm not crazy. I think the books that I read, the two books that I read, and talking to the women on the dating site, realizing that the majority of these women were all in the same boat. That was
Mhm.
very validating. So I would say, yeah, try, and almost every town has meetups.
Yes, that's
So,
what I once we're out of COVID, I
yeah,
think meeting people in person is really nice.
yeah, I would say do your meetups that are locally, and if your town doesn't have it, start one.
That one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously.
Well, you can just put in when you go to meet the meetup site, you can put LGBTQ
Right.
meetups. And if you're still not out and you're still really nervous about it, give yourself a fake email address that
Right.
you just check. Like you talked about your burner phone.
Yeah.
You need to start somewhere.
Yes.
So even if you have to be stealth in the beginning and
Yep.
like, have a burner phone or buy a prepaid card like, you did, or go to join a meetup group and have a fake email address. Like I was so nervous when I was coming out in the beginning. I had a email address from when I was in grad school and I use that email address because I was so like now that I have run these groups and done all this stuff last year, I don't pay attention to anybody's email address. So it's not like I'm Googling them to figure
Yeah.
out who they are. No, I don't pay attention. But if you're really, really nervous, and also if you're really nervous about joining those Facebook groups, you can create an account that you can use if you're still worried about people knowing whether you're gay or not, and you're still afraid, you're still scared about coming out. You can make a fake account and join that way,
Yep. There are some really good supportive groups out there, and I even just I popped into one yesterday through the Bloomers Society, and it was a UK only, but I thought it was welcome. Everybody was welcome, so I was the only American in there. But it was interesting. There were two women who were very shy about talking, and I just tried to bring them out little by little, and I did that by just laying my story out on the table, and
Mhm.
saying, ask me anything you want to ask me. I have nothing to hide. I'm not ashamed or afraid to talk about anything. And then by the end of the Zoom session, everybody was talking and laughing, and saying, I thought it was just me. But I would
Mhm.
say to people, you're not alone. You are not alone. If
No,
you
you're not.
think you're
There's
alone, you're
my
not alone.
my support group online is secret, but I there's 1,100 members in there, and so
Wow.
you can contact me and if you want, and I can put you in that support group. So, there isn't you're not alone.
No.
That's the biggest
And
message.
there are books out
So,
there now,
yeah, there's a lot of books out there
a lot
now.
of books out there now, and, yeah, I just, that would there's more resources than ever.
Mhm. So let me ask you. So as we wrap this up, like, so what books did you read? What books changed your life?
I believe it's Joanne Fleischer's book, Married Women Who Love Women. I
Yep.
read that. And I read Switching Teams.
Yeah. By Dawn.
Yeah, by Dawn. And that one really, I don't know why, that one really resonated with me. I guess because, I don't know, maybe because I was reading it as I was going through my process. So
Mhm.
those were two big books. More recently, I read Molly Weisenberg's book, Fixed Stars.
I've heard that's very good.
It is very good. Yeah, she's a sweetie, and she makes herself very available, on
Mhm.
various different groups as well for questions and things like that. I did read Glennon Doyle's book, Untamed, but I didn't read it for the coming out part of it. It was really it's just some other good life lessons and
Mhm.
things that women need to keep in mind, as they continue to grow.
Mhm.
So,
So do you have a coming out song?
oh God, I hated this question. There's so many, too many songs. All right. So one of my girl crushes is Alicia Keys. So I'm
Mhm.
gonna say "Girl on Fire,"
Mhm.
and then you have to do a nod to Gloria Gaynor. "I Will
Will
Survive."
survive. You know what mine was Destiny's Child, Survivor.
Oh wow,
Because it like there was I have so many. I
I
have
know there are so
and
many.
my fiance lesbian courted me by sending me a bunch of songs. So I
Oh
have about 30 songs
wow.
that we shared with each other back and forth.
Oh,
So,
that's sweet.
yeah, it was fun. And I just heard the other day somebody said, "Oh, that's the lesbian way to court, sending each other songs."
That's so true.
Is it? I just thought my
It is.
fiance did that. So,
Every any woman that I met, that's like they start sending you songs. I'm like, huh.
yeah, I know. Some of the songs she sent me too were like really like I had never been romanced like before.
Oh, I
Like
know.
my ex-husband didn't do anything like that.
Yeah.
I'd never been romanced where someone sent, and I'm a word person. I'm a music poem kind of person. So,
Ooh,
oh my God, did that capture my heart?
yeah.
It really
Yep.
did. Okay. So, how would you describe your life today?
Free, free and blissful.
Hmm.
And that doesn't mean there are not hard times, difficult moments, or whatever. But I think the combination of the divorce and coming out, I've never felt freer. And I feel, yeah, free is the best way I can describe it.
Well,
And
that's wonderful.
yeah, it's a good
Wonderful.
feeling. That's what I wanted. I remember when I was miserable in my marriage, I just remember thinking, I want to be free. I want to be free. And then up popped my sexuality, and now I'm free in that regard too. So,
Well, do you think that your sexuality was a gift that, like,
yes,
figuring it because I don't know if you would have left your marriage.
I don't know either. I
Yeah.
absolutely think that came up and surfaced at a time when I needed strength. When I
Mhm.
needed strength to say, you're not happy. You need to be
You
living
need
a different.
to
Absolutely. I think that my sexuality is what saved my life, which is odd.
Sometimes I say to my clients that, it's your sexuality is such a gift because it's getting you out of a lousy marriage that you're not happy.
Yeah.
It makes people move. I
Yeah.
mean, like, my marriage, it it was just I was just lonely. And so, like, he's a very good dad and everything like that, but I was really, really lonely, and it was the impetus that made me finally leave. It took a long time, but it made me
Yeah.
finally yeah, so
I hear you. But yeah, I'm very lucky. It is a gift,
mhm.
for sure.
Well, Robin, thank you so much for coming on
You're
here.
very
Thank you
welcome.
very much for describing everything and talking about everything. I really appreciate hearing your
Thank you.
story,
I
and you're
appreciate
gonna help somebody else.
I hope so. I hope
Yeah,
so. Thank you for the opportunity.
you're welcome.